The vast majority of equestrians know the term big lick, and of those equestrians, I would say probably around 99% of them get a bit of a pit in their stomach and a grimace on their face whenever they hear the words big lick. And this is because big lick is arguably the most abusive horse sport ever. Every photo or video that you see of a horse doing big lick is in pain. This is not an assumption, this is a fact. Every single one of these horses is exhibiting pain face, a variety of facial indicators of pain. I'm going to make a whole video on pain face at some point, but just to point out a few things here, we have the wide eyes, the facial tension, flared nostrils, holding the mouth open. These are all signs of pain. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be pretty heavy. It is going to be somewhat graphic. There will be graphic descriptions and graphic photos, footage. If that is not something that you can handle, either just listen to it or go watch a different video. I won't hold it against you. If you can't already tell, I am sick. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm quite raspy, not quite sounding like myself, but unfortunately I have to get this video done today, so I can't really just wait until I get better. So hopefully you can bear with me. My throat is already sore, so I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but I've got my water, I've got my Gatorade. We're gonna just try to get through this. Not that the Gatorade is good for your throat, that's for the pots. Anyways, this has been a highly requested video and we've got a lot of information to get through, so let's just get right into it. Big Lick is a show class that utilizes Tennessee walking horses, a breed that dates back to the late 19th and early 20th century, descended from standardbred, Morgan, saddlebred, and American thoroughbred horses. Tennessee walking horses are a gaited breed, meaning that they have their own fifth gait in addition to the standard walk, trot, canter, and gallop that all other horse breeds have. Okay, so please disregard what I said it means to be a gaited horse. I guess I was just functioning off of some random autopilot when I said this, because as I'm sitting here editing now, finally watching it back for the first time, I was like, wait, that is not what it means to be gaited. Definition of a gaited horse is a horse that has the natural ability to perform one or more intermediate 4-beat gaits. So these 4-beat gaits are a lot more smooth, much more comfortable ride, typically than more like 3-beated gaits. So Tennessee walking horses, their gaits, they're known for their flat walk, their running walk, they're different, like their 4-beat canter, as well as sometimes a foxtrot. So if you watch that clip and went, wait, that's not what it means to be gaited, don't worry, I know. I don't know why I said that. So there you go. There's the clarification. They are known for what is called their running walk. A lot of people really like Tennessee walking horses because they are really smooth and they have a really good temperament. I actually know somebody who pretty much only recommends gaited horses, including Tennessee walking horses, Rocky Mountain horses, to older, like more senior riders because they are just so smooth. Now, this is what a Tennessee walking horse's running walk looks like. And this is the Big Lick. As you can see, it is a very exaggerated version of a running walk gait and honestly looks uncomfortable, because it is. This is not a naturally occurring gait in any equine species or breed. In the Big Lick class, horses are judged on this exaggerated high-stepping gait as well as their overall appearance, conformation, and the quality of their movement. Big Lick started forming and gaining popularity in the mid-20th century or so, around the time when Tennessee walking horses started to really gain popularity. Judges at horse shows often showed a preference for horses that had a more high-stepping gait, so they were giving them higher scores, which led people to then try to determine how they could get their horse to achieve a more high-stepping gait, because everybody wants to win. So people started fiddling around, trying different things, trying to figure out how they could get their horse to have a more exaggerated gait, and this gave birth to a horrible practice that is integral to the continuation of Big Lick, and that is soring. Soring is the disgusting practice of adding corrosive and harmful chemicals and mechanical devices to the lower leg and feet of the horse in order to cause enough pain for them to perform this exaggerated high-stepping gait in an attempt to relieve the pain and discomfort. There are two types of soring, chemical soring and mechanical soring, and these two methods are almost always used together because if you don't, you're not going to get the optimal response. Chemical soring involves applying chemical agents like mustard oil, salicylic acid, kerosene, and diesel fuel to the pasterns, bulbs of the heel, and the coronary band of horses. Kerosene and diesel fuel. What is wrong with people? The legs are then commonly bandaged and wrapped in plastic in order to allow the chemicals to literally bake into the flesh. These chemicals cause burning and blistering, and I have even seen photos of horses who literally have their skin sloughing off. That is torture. There is no other word for it. It is torture. If somebody did that to a person, they would get years to life in prison, and yet most big lick trainers get a slap on the wrist and maybe a year in prison, and that's only if they're caught. Most big lick trainers never face any legal consequences. These chemicals are applied to the skin in order to make the skin incredibly sensitive so that when mechanical soring is added, the horse develops a high step in response to the pain. Mechanical soring involves the use of weighted chains or wooden rollers around the fetlocks, tacks and nails deliberately placed under the shoe and into the white line of the hoof, and the application of stacks. Chains and wooden rollers are put on the horse's legs to cause irritation to the damaged skin. This causes the horse to display this high step in an attempt to relieve the excruciating pain that they're in. So this high step is a pain response. In big lick, instead of being barefoot or wearing regular horseshoes, horses are fitted with stacks. These are tall and heavy padded horseshoes that are used to accentuate their gait even further. Stacks force the horse to stand at an unnatural angle. It pitches them forward onto their toes, kind of like this, and this can have a lot of negative impacts for the suspensory ligaments in their legs. It's basically like if you were to wear high heels every day, 24 hours a day, for your entire life. Sometimes foreign objects are even placed between the stack and the hoof in order to cause more discomfort and more pain whenever the front feet are on the ground. This will then cause the horse to want to get that foot off the ground and as high off the ground as possible whenever possible. The artificial gait that soring creates also completely flips how a horse is supposed to support their body weight. On average, a horse typically carries between 60 to sometimes 70% of their body weight on their front legs. This is to compensate for the weight of the head and the neck. But in big lick, you can see that the horse's back is not parallel to the ground as it should be. The horse's body makes a downward slope with its hindquarters significantly closer to the ground than they should be. The legs come way too far underneath the body, and this flips the horse to be supporting way too much of its weight on its hind end. And this downward slope is also why all big lick riders are out here looking like Quasimodo. They all have the worst posture I've ever seen. They are so hunched, and they have to be, or else they're gonna fall off. You will rarely ever hear me just like attacking someone's riding and saying somebody is a bad rider and like any of that. I only talk about people's riding skill. I don't even talk about people's riding skill. I talk about their riding if it's abusive, and I will correct what they're doing if what they're doing is harmful to the horse. I'm not out here to coach people on their riding or say someone's a bad rider, but big lick riders, you're bad riders. For multiple reasons. In addition to your horrible posture, you're also riding abused horses and you're abusing horses. So you're bad riders. If you abuse a horse, you're a bad rider. Even if you are the most skilled rider on the planet, if you're abusing a horse, you're a bad rider. Sorry, not sorry. Now, in the United States, the practice of soring was actually made illegal in 1970. Big lick competitions were facing a lot of controversy, and so the American Horse Protection Act was passed in 1970. The Horse Protection Act outlaws the practice of soring, as well as the showing, exhibiting, selling, and transporting of sored horses, in addition to prohibiting the use of equipment and substances that are involved in soring. And a lot of the big lick and padded performance supporters will try to defend big lick, saying that it's okay, it's not abusive anymore because people don't use soring anymore because it was made illegal, so it's a thing of the past. Which is the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Just because it was made illegal doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It just means that people had to get more sneaky about it. The argument that just because something is illegal means it doesn't happen is just so dumb. Theft is illegal and people still steal every day. Murder is illegal and people still kill every day. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Soring still happens today despite the ban. I'm gonna be getting very aggressive and passionate throughout this video. You're gonna see me a lot more angry than you normally do because big lick just gets me this way. and it is not good for my sick, sore throat. My throat hurts so badly, oh my goodness. Now, unfortunately, soaring is actually not technically illegal in Canada, which is something I did not know until I was sitting down to research this video. I guess I just assumed it was because, you know, it's horrific animal abuse, but that was so silly of me to assume that Canada would have decent animal welfare laws. Now, Canada does have animal welfare laws to ensure the humane treatment of animals, although they are rarely ever actually enforced, but there is no federal law that specifically outlaws the practice of soaring. Soaring on its own is not technically illegal. Canadian criminal law does prohibit causing unnecessary pain, suffering, or injury, and this in theory could be used to prosecute people involved in soaring, but technically soaring on its own is not illegal. We don't have an equivalent to the American Horse Protection Act. My guess is that this is probably because Tennessee walking horses are not that popular here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have a really big Tennessee walker community here. I mean, they're mostly in like Tennessee and Kentucky and those surrounding states. Just popping in here to say that I did a quick little Google search as I'm doing the final stage of editing and determined that Canada has apparently never offered any shows with a big lit class, at least like official shows. That doesn't mean that someone's not like doing it in their backyard, but we have never had shows that offered big lit classes. I also don't think we have a huge saddle seat community either. I don't think it's that popular here, which also, like, to be clear, saddle seat and big lick are not the same thing. People will get them confused, but I'll put some videos here to show you the difference in the gait of the horses. They're two very different things. Now, believe it or not, big lick horses are actually inspected prior to competing in order to determine if they were sored or not, which they all are or have been at some point, so it's redundant, but whatever. American federal law requires that all Tennessee walking horses entering exhibitions, shows, auctions, or sales be inspected for soaring before they enter the ring. Typically, an inspector will palpate the horse's front legs to see if the horse has any pain or discomfort response, and they will also visually examine the legs for signs of soaring. Many horses are also subjected to what is called the scar rule, and this means their legs can't show any evidence of scarring that could potentially have been caused by soaring. I believe the scar rule includes scar tissue, strange marks, or missing hair. I'm going to read you a little section from an article from Humane World because this is something about the inspections that is interesting that I did not know before. Inspectors have jurisdiction to inspect horses anywhere on the grounds of a show, exhibition, auction, or sale, as well as in the transport to these venues. But intimidation, harassment, and threats from industry participants have kept inspectors from examining horses outside of designated inspection areas directly before entering the show ring. This system gives trainers ample opportunity to attempt to conceal soaring before the horse is inspected. So inspectors essentially have a much harder time doing their job because big lick people are just so terrible. Although, also, are the inspectors really much better because they're inspecting at a big lick show and big lick is inherently abusive? I don't know. We've been over this. I keep reiterating it. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm a broken record. Big lick is bad. You get the idea. Now, many big lick trainers and horse owners will actually do a few different things to try and mask the signs of soaring in their horses prior to inspection. Sometimes this is applying numbing agents to the legs so that when the legs are palpated, they don't have a pain response. Sometimes this is sedating or drugging the horses, and sometimes horses will actually go through mock inspections at their home farms, where if the horse reacts to their legs being palpated, then they're hit with a whip, to teach the horse to be fearful and stand still and endure the pain in order to prevent being beaten, which is just so disgusting. I honestly can't believe that these people claim to care about their horses. I mean, I think the vast majority of them don't give a shit, honestly. But even those of them that think that they care about them and you're doing things like this, there are a few additional welfare concerns outside of just the soaring alone, and one of those is a lack of turnout. Most big lick horses are not allowed turnout at all. When they're not being trained or shown, they are alone in their stalls. Now, I've talked a lot about the welfare concerns and health implications of long-term stalling, and even just stalling your horse every night can bring about certain problems. There are obviously situations in which stalls are needed, but a horse never having any access to turnout or other horses is abuse. Point blank, period. Horses are social herd animals that cannot thrive unless they have access to a proper herd environment, and that does not mean sharing a fence line. Big lick horses also usually don't live very long lives. the abuse just catches up to them. The soaring and the standing on stacks for years and years just takes a severe toll on their body, and often their legs or just their whole body gives out. A lot of big lick horses also die at a very young age due to colic, which a lot of people believe to be caused by the extreme stress put on them from the training, as well as exposure to toxic chemicals and just the intense amount of pain that they're in. Some of these horses are dying from pain-induced colic. A lot of the information that we have about the inner workings of the big lick industry and the shows comes from former trainers who have either been caught, imprisoned, and then released, or who have come forward on their own when they realize the error of their ways. One of these trainers is Barney Davis, who did an interview with Humane World. He pleaded guilty to felony under the Horse Protection Act and was sentenced to serve 1 year in federal prison and was released in July of 2012. I transcribed a few of his responses to some of the questions he was asked to share them here because I wasn't sure if I could share the actual video footage without my video getting taken down with copyright issues. So I'll read you some of his responses. So he was asked if he's ever seen horses crippled from big lick, and he said, "There's been several horses that's been lame and even died. And once the horses are crippled like that, they won't eat. They hurt so bad they won't eat. And you have to keep them on so much pain medicine that they won't get up. They won't get out of their stall. They won't go to the trough and eat. I mean, you just usually end up having to put them down. A lot of these horses colic over, we call it stress colic, from all the pain." When asked, have you ever seen or had a hoof break off from the bands, he said, "Yeah, I've had plenty of hooves break off in the quick, in the sole area that would bleed because of the band. It hurts them. That's probably 90% of what makes a horse go lame, is the band. If the horse ever breaks a foot off in the quick, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have some rotation in that foot when it grows back. If they've got rotation in their feet, they're not ever actually healed. They're in pain for the rest of their life." For the people who defend big lick, saying that you can train it without soaring, Barney, an actual big lick trainer or former trainer, said that that's not true. Humane World asked him, "Can you train a horse to walk without soaring?" And he said, "To a point. You can train a horse to walk to a point, but you're not going to get that deep walk. You're not going to win if you don't soar him. Without some kind of soaring, they're not going to do the big lick." There you go. You can train a more dramatic walk without soaring, but you cannot train the big lick without soaring. Davis also said that there is a lot of bribery within the industry. Judges are paid off to ensure that a certain horse will win or that a certain horse will lose. Inspectors are often paid off to allow certain horses through or to not allow other horses through. So apart from the horrible abuse that is necessary to make these shows continue, it's just not an honest or fair competition. What is the point of competing? Luckily, a new rule actually went into effect on February 1st of this year, 2025, that will make inspections a lot more strict. The new rule eliminates industry self-regulation, and now inspectors have to be screened, trained, and authorized by the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. So hopefully this will help. Although, again, there's no point of having inspections. Big lick just is abusive, but I will take what we can get. The revised regulations also now prohibit the use of any device, method, practice, or substance applied to a horse that can cause or is associated with soaring. Prohibiting all action devices and non-therapeutic pads, artificial toe extensions, wedges, and all substances on the extremities above the hoof. These action devices include chains, ankle rings, collars, rollers, and bracelets of wood or aluminum beads. Okay, so editing cat coming in here to fact check myself, because when I was going through to get the screenshots of articles to put in the video, I managed to stumble across, just by chance, stumbled across an article that is titled "APHIS Further Postpones Horse Protection Act Changes." And I was like, what is this? When was this written? It was written April 16th of this year, 2025, and was updated the following day. And so all of these updates to the regulations that were supposed to happen are not happening now, they're happening next year. That's because on January 31st, Judge Matthew J., I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, it's up there on screen for you, of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas, issued his decision vacating most of the new regulations. Specifically, the ruling said that APHIS had exceeded its authority by issuing a blanket prohibition of the use of pads, action devices, and substances on Tennessee walking horses and racking horses. In addition, the new wording intended to replace the SCAR rule and the pre- and post-deprivation review of inspector decisions both failed to provide due process. And not only are they postponing the effective date to February 1st of 2026, the agency is also requesting public comments on whether it should further extend the postponement, and if so, additional information to help inform a decision on the appropriate length of the postponement. This is absolutely disgusting to me, because to me what this says is that there are people in high places who have an interest in Big Lick continuing, because they have been presented with all the information. They know that Big Lick is abusive, and yet they are now making it so that Big Lick can continue, and they are asking for public comments when they know that there are going to be a ton of people in these areas in the South, in Tennessee and Kentucky, who are going to want Big Lick to continue because they currently already do. So they will try to tell you, oh, look, here are my horses, they're not sore, blah, 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 and they're lying. This is just, it's absolutely disgusting to me. Honestly, it's absolutely disgusting. Like, to say that the APHIS exceeded their authority by issuing certain prohibitions, like, no, you don't exceed your authority by putting laws into place that prevents the horrible, horrific abuse of horses. Like, that's not a thing. It's disgusting to me, and I don't have time to go through this entire article with you guys in this video, but I will link it in the description in case you would like to read it. So I made a post in my community tab asking you guys if there was anything specific about Big Lick that you wanted to make sure that I covered. And someone brought up the term padded performance, saying that they hate how people will use that term to basically cover up Big Lick. And I had never heard the term padded performance before, so I went down the internet rabbit hole. I did some Googling, I did some YouTubing, and I even did some TikToking. And yeah, it's literally the same thing. Padded performance is Big Lick. And what is actually horrible is that if you go on the Tennessee Walking Horse Association website, I think it is, and you look at the different classes that they offer, one of them is the performance class, which if you look at the photo, it is literally just Big Lick. And the Tennessee Walking Horse Association is promoting it because they're like, it's padded performance, it's Big Lick. Padded performance is Big Lick. The Tennessee History website even says Tennessee walking horses compete in two basic categories, flat-shod and performance. Flat-shod horses wear traditional horseshoes, and a horse and rider compete in either English or Western attire. Performance horses wear built-up, weighted shoes, and riders generally favor saddle seat tack and attire to show off the exaggerated animated gait, sometimes called the Big Lick. So performance or padded performance is literally just Big Lick. I saw videos of people on TikTok trying to defend padded performance, saying that it's different from Big Lick, saying
the stacks are only 2 to 3 or 5 pounds or something like that, and we use wooden rollers, not metal chains. There's nothing wrong with them.
Honey, if there was nothing wrong with them, the USDA wouldn't have banned their use. Also, the main problem with stacks isn't necessarily the weight of them. The weight obviously is a problem, but the main issue is how they put them on, and also the fact that they completely change the way that a horse stands. Also, just this is a me thing, but they'll say, oh, well, they're lighter than regular horseshoes, or but you put your horse in these shoes, and I'm I'm not a big fan of most shoes in general. Obviously I'm not anti-horseshoe, okay? But I do think that the vast majority of horses wearing them don't need them. But we have, unfortunately, over the past few centuries, bred horses that have crap feet because we were we'll just put shoes on them and then it doesn't matter. But I think that breeders need to focus more on foot health these days, because horses don't always need shoes. Some of them do, but the vast majority of horses wearing them don't. So many people online, at Big Lick shows, in the media, will try and defend Big Lick, saying that it's not abusive because soring doesn't happen anymore, it's a thing of the past. Big fat lie. Number one, these stupid stacks are their own type of soring. They're mechanical soring. If the stacks are on, the horse is sored. Also, if soring really was a thing of the past, then Big Lick wouldn't exist anymore. Let me say this in super, super plain, easy, simple words so that even the people with the worst cognitive dissonance can understand it. There is no way to get a horse to move like this without soring. There is no way. It is physically impossible. A pain response is needed to cause this movement. If your horse is moving like this, they are in pain. Big Lick or padded performance is abuse. It's torture. It's disgusting, it's horrible, and the people who are involved in it are horrible, torturous people who have no regard for any life other than their own. All they care about is money. Please excuse my language, I usually try not to curse in my videos, but Big Lick is the dog shit on the bottom of the shoe that is the equine industry. It needs to be stomped out. And these so-called trainers deserve to be run out of the equine industry, fined and imprisoned for the rest of their lives. You will rarely hear me talk so aggressively about anyone. You will rarely see me portray myself this way online or in person. I am a big believer in it takes nothing to be kind, and I will always try to see things from another perspective, but I have absolutely no problem saying that someone who is willing to put kerosene and diesel fuel on an animal's flesh is a bad person. I know that a lot of people have said that if you grow up in the industry, then you don't really know any better, and I get it maybe if it's a kid who has no outside context, but at a certain point you grow up, you learn what animal abuse is, you learn what child abuse is, you learn what is right and what is wrong. At a certain point, you should be able to draw connections that what you're doing is harmful. I will always be the first person to say that we have to leave room for people to learn and for people to grow. Most equestrians, myself included, were taught and partook in abusive methods when we first got into the industry. But there is a difference between smacking a horse for biting and baking corrosive chemicals into a horse's flesh just to win. As far as like people not knowing any better because they've grown up in the industry, like I don't know where the line is as far as like morality, but I have absolutely no sympathy for big lick people. I can't. Partially because they are all well aware of what the general public and the rest of the equine industry thinks of them. They know that soaring is illegal. Maybe before 1970, there would have been an excuse for somebody who was, raised in the industry. But in 2025, with access to the internet, if you Google big lick, one of the first things that comes up is the definition of soaring and how it was made illegal in the US in 1970. Big lick trainers know what they're doing is illegal, and they don't care. They do it anyways. There's no excuse anymore.